A couple of my regular listeners ask me why I haven't posted any videos. Mostly because there isn't that much to say. Archery season, I didn't see anything. Rifle season, all I saw was dinks. My grandson got his first buck, which was nice, but it wasn't on this property. He's a little too young to do any serious hunting, but anyway, it's first Saturday of the season, so we're a week into it. I only went out last Saturday, and that was it. Killed a couple does, and made some sausage and stuff like that. So nothing really super interesting to talk about. But today, first thing I'm going to do is go look at my trail camera that I had pointed towards a really active scrape during archery season, during the rut. There was a lot of fighting and chasing back in this thick stuff. So I'm going to go check that, see if there's anything big walking around. And it rained all day yesterday, so it's a great day to just sneak around. You can sneak real quiet. And what I count on a day like today is to catch deer that the hunting club next door is bumping around, because they like to ride their four-wheelers all over the place. And they often kick out deer when they're doing that. So now over that way is 300,000 acres of state forest. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go where no man has gone before. Okay, so I know some places that deer might bed down, and they might go to get away from hunting pressure. And mainly that's just where nobody else goes. People have their set stands. They go to the stand, hunt, and then go back to the camp. Well, the deer are just going to fill in the areas that nobody hunts, as long as there's food and cover. Not a whole lot of food here right now. So no acorns this year. They go that way towards the farms. And then they come back here during the day. But I just got here. It's about 8 o'clock. I don't worry about getting out at the crack of dawn once the season is up and running, because the deer, especially now that there's been a full moon, they're all bedded down probably at 2, 3 in the morning, and you're not going to catch them moving around. So I'd rather just, get plenty of rest. Well, the turkeys were right here. And not get all in a panic trying to get out at the crack of dawn. It just doesn't do you any good, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to check this trail camera, and if there's anything interesting, I will add that to this video. right, so based on what I saw on the camera just now, I'm going to grab my saddle and get into that stand over there, because that looks like a real high traffic spot. Even though the rut is winding down, pretty much over, there was a nice buck that went by there yesterday that I would definitely shoot if I saw him today. So as much as I hate getting into the saddle right now, because I'm fat and old, that's looks like a pretty good bet at this point. So here we go. Okay, so here's the situation. That camera sits right about here on a skid trail that goes from this little clearing out through here to this clearing here. There's a landing here. So the camera's here. There's real thick pine. It's only about 3.5 acres of thick. And this is kind of thick. You see how you can't see the ground here? Because there's so much dead pine in there. We had an ice storm a couple years ago, and it knocked a lot of the small pine down. So there's a lot of ground cover all through here. And for some reason, they're really loving it. This is the only active scrape that I saw on the property. And there was a lot of rut activity back in archery. And then obviously, as you saw on the camera, quite a bit of traffic right here. And I think it has a lot to do with this thick pine. Up to the north, about a mile, are farm fields. You go up over a ridge down the other side and you're in the farms. All of the deer that I killed on this property this year had a few corn kernels in it. So I think they were either going over there to feed or somebody had bait out somewhere and they were getting corn. I think I just blew it because I looked over. This is to my right, and there was a buck heading out through there pretty fast. By the time I got my rifle over there and got lined up, he was just about to step off into the really thick, and I never would have gotten a shot, so I kind of took a snapshot, which wasn't a very good idea. Pretty sure I missed him, because, you know, with that 300 mag, you should see him flop over. I'll give it a little time, and I'll head over there and see if I find any blood or anything. Hopefully it was just a clean miss. But that sucks, because that's the first buck or deer that I've missed with a rifle since I was a teenager. So, sucks. But man, I wasn't here 15, 20 minutes and there goes a buck. I wish he would have come a little bit closer. Okay, well, the same buck came from over there and he showed up right here just now. Look at my finger shaking. He was right here. And I could not get my rifle around and get on him. He was 20 yards away. And then he sensed my movement. I was dicking around up here trying to get my rifle around. And he ran off that way. He wasn't very spooked because he wasn't sure what was going on, but he was on high alert and he didn't like the situation. Man. Talk about bad luck, gee whiz. Well, I was hoping that was two different bucks and the first buck would be laying over there, so I went over and didn't find any trace of anything, so I'm pretty sure it's the same buck. He kind of went out that way, circled around. And I got another crack at him and I blew that too. Can you believe it? Man. At least he wasn't a real big one. He was just a legal buck with, you know, a half decent 14-inch spread, I guess. And, you know, the last time I missed a buck was back in the early 80s. I was in Colorado hunting mule deer and saw a big mule deer, trophy of a lifetime. And I had been reading a lot of Outdoor Life and Field and Stream, and there used to be this biologist who was full of crap. Now that I look back on it, you know, this is before I knew anything really, and he would put these drawings in the magazine of where the heart was, and it was such an easy shot. I thought, well, I'm going to get fancy. I'm going to shoot him right in the heart. So I aimed low, and it just cut his brisket open. He was bleeding, but it wasn't a kill shot. And we started trailing him, and somebody else killed him. So he's hanging on somebody else's wall. Pays to get good with your rifle and be able to make those shots when when the time comes. That's probably a shot I never should have taken. So, in hindsight, two things. I shouldn't have shot the first time. And the second time, I should have let him just come under my tree stand, get to my strong side so I can put the gun out and shoot him. But you never know. But it was fun to see something anyway, and it was fun to see that stuff on camera during the rut. Unfortunately, most of it was after archery season was over. So we'll get after it. It's real hot right now. I think it's like 50 degrees. And I'm going to take a layer off and start moseying around. And just kind of see some country, see what I see, and then get into a stand at the end of the day, see what happens. I wanted to wait until some of these guys from next door started coming out for lunch, because a lot of times they'll push deer over towards this property because they go in and out on their four-wheelers. All right, I'll let you know if anything happens, okay? Couple of rubs over there too. Nobody's been in here, so I'm gonna creep through here and see if whoever made these rubs is hanging out. Two deer just took off from here and went that way. Didn't see what they were. The two together is probably just a doe and a fawn, but let's analyze this quick. Steep hill going down this way. Real steep. You can hear the creek down at the bottom. You can barely walk on it. But right here is like a thermal hub. Okay, so warm winds are going to come up. Prevailing wind is actually today it's going that way. So the nice thing about that spot is they can bail down over the hill and go super fast. They can go over the let me zoom back out. No, wait, wrong way. They can bail over that hill, go straight down, or what they just did is to run into the wind across that ridge. So there's plenty of escape routes. I was a little surprised they took off kind of out towards the open country, but somebody sitting in my stand over that way would have a shot at those deer. So that's where doing cooperative still hunts, like I'm still hunting now, but if somebody were in that stand, they could take advantage of what I kick out. Okay, so what happened was I walked up this way and I cut in to this regeneration area, and that's where that Buck Robes and sign was. And I snuck across this way to the edge, and so I'm walking along the edge and watching in here, and those deer were right here. They jumped up and took off this way. This is all mountain laurel over here on these slopes. You can see how it's real thick and steep. So right here is a perfect place to bed down because they can keep an eye on everything here. No danger really is going to be able to come up this hill, and you can run this way, you can run down, you can run up this way, all kinds of ways to get out of there if danger comes. This is that stand I was talking about. And you might think that, well, why were you walking this way when the wind was out of the northwest, which is the prevailing wind? It doesn't really blow that way because of these mountains and this gap here. The wind generally comes up this way, and then it does all kinds of things up in here. So It might swirl, it might change back and forth, it might go up and down, depending on sun, thermals, and how hard the wind's blowing. So the wind was actually in my face when I came out through here. It was kind of blowing this way. And then it was blowing out over. It was coming this way, right out of the kind of due west, actually. And then, those deer saw me because they were set up in a perfect place. You see how this goes up a little bit? And it's a little bit open and brushy. And they could see all this area. Now, you would think that deer would bed down in this mountain laurel, but they don't. they bed down on these ridges, the noses of these ridges. They bed in here. This is a good area right here, here, and in here. Sometimes they get down, when this was thicker, it's growing up now, so it's more open, so they don't lay in there much. They do like these pines, though. So it's hard to say where they're going to find them in this kind of country. Where I used to hunt every opening day was up there. It took a while to walk up there in the morning, spend the whole day up there. It's a bunch of mountain laurel at the top. Usually in these mountains, there's mountain laurel on the ridges. And that was a hike up there. And when you got a deer, that thing would run you over when you're trying to drag it down that mountain. That sucker is steep. So I'll leave that to the younger fellas. Somebody is doing the long range shooting. They're shooting across the valley. They're doing 1,000-yard deals over there, and people do that over there. You can hear the bullet, then the bang from the rifle. So that's how you know that's what they're doing. So there's a deer moving, and there's a guy calling the other guy's shots. He just shot like 3-4 times. It's not for me, but to each his own. Right in the middle of the road. You never know where you're going to see them. I don't know, the wind is in my face, but it must have swirled. One of those does got a little whiff. Either that or they saw me move a little bit. You know, I'm 25 feet up in this pine tree, and it seems like deer are able to see me, even though I have all this stuff around me. I don't know how they do it. Well, I guess that's it for today. They usually come out right down here, but they're pretty skittish, and I don't know. There's still enough daylight to shoot through my scope, so I'll stick around another 10 minutes. This is more of a doe shooting area than a buck shooting area, but I have seen bucks in here. Not very often. Last year in doe season, I shot a 10-point, or I saw a 10-point here with a doe. Shot the doe, but the buck wasn't in season, so it was a nice buck. Somebody was blazing away up that way, just must have missed and kept shooting. So I don't know if he got one or not. Wasn't very far away, but it's a beautiful evening, and that's 1 week of deer season down, another week to go, and I'll try to get out a couple more days, especially if it snows a little bit. All right, signing off. Okay, for my evening stand, I have a tree stand right here in this pine tree. And those two does came out here. They're feeding around. There's a little bit of clover there. And the two bucks came out down in here. And I think what they do is they're bedded here. They came out through, stayed under cover, and then right at the end of light, they came out and started feeding. It's about a 75-yard shot down there, and I was able to get one. Now, this area, you can see that there's a point here, a slope, and a lot of thick pines. Not super thick, but thick enough to give deer cover. And usually there's a lot of traffic from hunters coming up this trail, but nobody's been in there quite a while. So I figured it would be quiet and deer would be bedded here. And sure enough, they were in there and came out. It's tough to hunt. It would make sense to set up here, but they're going to smell you because the thermals go down the hill. As soon as the sun goes down, the cold air starts moving down this ravine. And that's probably why they like it, because they can come against the thermals and get out to this clover field here.